Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for this next installment of Facebook and Instagram Live. So, why am I doing Instagram and Facebook Lives for this month? Good question, you might ask. And so I do have two new online retreat programs, meditation programs that I'm going to be offering, and I'm really here talking about the programs. I'm very excited about them. The first one is loving kindness, and I did a talk about loving kindness to support that program on Monday. But here I am, today's Thursday, and doing a talk now to support the other program that I'm offering. And this is a program on the topics of self-compassion, forgiveness, and the inner critic. So I just want to talk a little bit about the program then, and I'll offer a little bit of a teaching here today around self-compassion. So as I mentioned, this is an 8-week program. And the title, once again, Self-Compassion, Forgiveness, and the Inner Critic. And we will be really taking a deep dive into these three very, very important topics: self-compassion, forgiveness, and the inner critic. We'll be accessing several meditation practices from the Theravada school of Buddhism and Mahayana school of Buddhism, both traditions I've trained in quite deeply. And so we'll be using these meditations that are specifically designed to help us cultivate a type of self-compassion, a way of really speaking to ourselves as if we were our own best friend. That's the idea there. Hi, Erica. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So then we'll be spending 5 sessions, about 2.5 weeks working with self-compassion. Then we'll have 5 sessions targeting the practices of forgiveness, and 5 sessions targeting our own inner critic, that harsh inner voice that seems to be really, in many cases, so tenacious. Right? It's just there. It's like sitting on our shoulder, giving this harsh commentary around pretty much everything we do. So we want to be able to start to unplug the inner critic. And so, again, thankfully, the Buddhist tradition brings forth many different meditation practices that we can look at the inner critic and start to dismantle that voice. Now, we won't only be accessing meditation practices, but we will be also drawing very heavily on the Western traditions of psychology and different forms of therapy that are so helpful and so useful at addressing the inner critic, at helping us move into a life with more forgiveness towards ourselves and towards people who perhaps may have transgressed against us. And also we hold ourselves in compassion. So it's going to be a very rich offering. Again, this runs 8 weeks, and the dates are October 11th to December 3rd. I don't have the dates on my notes, but I'm fairly sure that's the dates. But do check that at the website, suchsweetthunder.org. And you'd go to the website to register as well. The dates of the retreat, Tuesdays and Saturdays, East Coast time, 8 to 10 p.m. Be aware that after a few weeks after the course opens, the clocks do go back an hour. So I believe that'll then be 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays and Saturdays, East Coast time. That's section 1. There is a second section that I've opened that caters to people in Europe and people who are here in Asia who like a later start to the day. So section 2 is going to be from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Wednesdays and Sundays in Western Europe, particularly France. I used France as the time zone anchor there. In Thailand, that's 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. here in Thailand. Philippines, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and so forth. So please do adjust your clocks and calendars accordingly. That's for the live sessions, and as you might have noted there, we meet twice a week for 2 hours at a time. There's a 10-minute break in each session. And each session is recorded on Zoom, and those recordings are made available only to the retreat participants as a way of holding our confidentiality amongst the retreat participants. I really make the links available only to the people who are live, or only to the people who are registered for the course. So this is great because if you want to do all of the sessions live, you're welcome to do that. If you want to do just a few sessions live and miss the rest, you're welcome to do that. If you want to miss all the sessions, you're also welcome to do that. You could do the whole course in your own pace at your own time. Sorry, I was just getting a message there on my messenger. Also, if you're signed up for the retreat, whether you're doing it live, all the sessions live, some live, none of it live, I'm also available for one-to-one sessions for the retreat participants. So please do know that you have free access to me as the facilitator and teacher for the whole 8-week program to sign up for one-to-one sessions if you feel that's supportive for your practice. Everything that I offer is offered within a trauma-sensitive framework and offered within a secular voice. Although my training is mostly in the Buddhist tradition, when I teach in such a way that the religion is kind of left to the side. So people from all walks of life, any religion, can receive great benefit from these teachings. Okay, so I'll just ring the bell and do a very, very quick meditation, just as a kind of a way of setting the stage. So this will be a very, very brief 2 to 5 minute practice, and then I'll offer this talk on self-compassion today. So taking a few moments here just to arrive into this present moment experience. If you wish, taking a deep breath here, if that feels helpful. Just feeling into how the breath moves through the body. Perhaps noticing the rising and falling of the abdomen. The expanding and contracting of the rib cage with each breath. You might notice the shoulders rising on the in-breath and falling on the out-breath. And perhaps noticing the back moving out as you breathe in as you breathe out. And while we're noticing the breath, you might notice how the temperature changes from cooler to warmer at the nose and the back of the throat. Resting, resting. So while we're here, arriving into this present moment, Perhaps noticing sensations arising from the feet, perhaps the contact of the feet against the ground or the carpet or floor. Inviting the muscles in the feet to relax, grow soft, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations of clothing against the legs. Inviting the muscles in the legs to unwind and relax. We might also notice the weight of the body against the cushion or chair, mat or floor. Inviting the muscles underneath those sensations to relax and unwind. Perhaps noticing the hands resting against the body or touching each other. The arms resting against the body. Inviting the hands and arms to relax, grow soft, rest. You might also notice sensations of clothing against the back. Inviting the muscles in the back to relax, unwind. There might be sensations arising from the shoulders. Inviting the muscles in the shoulders to relax and rest. Perhaps noticing sensations arising throughout the cheeks of the face. Letting any tension or stress that's held in the face go. And noting sensations arising from the top of the head, the very crown of the head. Resting, resting. So just taking another few breaths here to continue to settle, arriving, resting. Meeting this present moment with kindness, with warmth. And so in the next breath or two, we'll begin to shift away from the meditation and back into a conversational space. And I'll cue that by ringing the bell 3 times. Okay. And thank you for joining me in that practice, and I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. For me, it's just nice even to come together for a few moments to arrive into the present and really to feel what's happening in the body, the mind, the heart. So a little bit here about this topic of self-compassion and perhaps how it relates to the course that I'm offering, the 8-week course. We're going to open, in the first 2.5 weeks of the course will be offered around self-compassion. So we'll spend 5 or 6 sessions together really exploring the self-compassion piece. Because, holding compassion for ourselves is such a great support for when we move into the practices of forgiveness. Right? Because forgiveness can be challenging, right? We may not want to forgive right away. That might be a really challenging situation. So it's really helpful to have cultivated a certain momentum in the practice of self-compassion, and then we move from that into the practice of forgiveness. So we hold what's arising in the open heart of forgiveness. And then in the course, we move from forgiveness into the practices of the inner critic. And you probably might guess that the reason why I've designed it this way is because self-compassion, moving into forgiveness, that too creates a big momentum, a larger momentum for which we can use to dismantle and really work with the inner critic. So that's the trajectory of the course. So let's talk a little bit about self-compassion. Now, as I mentioned in the opening of today's offering, that I'm going to be speaking from many different schools of thought around all three of these topics. So today I want to talk about self-compassion from a psychological point of view. This does have some Buddhism laced in it as well. This is kind of a happy marriage between Western psychology and Eastern practices. And this is a practice that is brought to us from the psychologist Kristin Neff and Chris Germer. And they've really created and brought to the world what's known widely as mindfulness self-compassion. Mindfulness self-compassion. They run 8-week programs on mindfulness self-compassion all over the world now. And they're using the texts that were created by Chris Germer and Kristin Neff. So I'll be using some of that in this course, and that's what I'll talk to today. And the offering that was put forth by these two wonderful teachers and healers is framing self-compassion as really a practice that has 3 components to it. The practice of mindfulness, the practice of common humanity, and the practice of kindness. So self-compassion is kind of like the whole puzzle, and the pieces of that puzzle are mindfulness, common humanity, and kindness. So let's take a look at that. So mindfulness, and the way I'm defining mindfulness is, at least in this context, is quite similar to how the mindfulness teacher and really mindfulness teacher, master, John Kabat-Zinn, he defines mindfulness as being near the present moment, free from judgment, or connecting to the present moment, free from judgment. So that quality of being free from judgment, that's really quite important, because without that quality, we're really just paying attention, right? But what qualifies mindfulness as being different from simply paying attention is this heartfelt quality of non-judgment, this open sort of acceptance. Not acceptance as blind passivity, but acceptance that, yes, this is what the present moment is bringing right now. That's mindfulness. Self-compassion also has this component of common humanity. And here we're bringing this lens of common humanity to our challenges in life, to our struggles, to our suffering. So we use mindfulness to really acknowledge the struggle that's here, the struggle of the present moment, the suffering of the present moment. And that's why the non-judgment piece of that is so important, because generally when we're in the midst of struggle or suffering or pain, we judge it immediately and we want to push it away. But this quality of equanimity that's inherent in mindfulness allows us to turn and really face the challenge, to turn and really look at, yeah, I'm suffering here. What's that about? And in that looking, we can then broaden our view to include all human beings. Because all human beings will encounter at some point in their life struggle, pain, and suffering. Now, yes, that happens on varying degrees, and there are some populations in the world that are grossly marginalized, and those populations arguably do suffer to a greater degree than some others. There are parts of the world that are starving, and there's a tremendous amount of suffering there. War-torn countries and so forth. But, and I want to honor that and recognize that. And at the same time, we all know what it feels like to want the present moment to be different than what it is. We all know what that push against the present moment feels like. So we've all had this experience of struggle, this experience of suffering. It's sort of etched into the fabric of human experience. We can't eradicate suffering from our life. If somebody is telling you you can, then they're trying to sell you something. So the reason why this common humanity piece is so helpful with compassion, and particularly with self-compassion, is because very often when we're in the midst of struggle, right, when we're really suffering with something, it can feel like somebody's put blinders on us. It's like, whoom, like this shield comes down over our face and particularly our eyes. And we think it's just us. Why is this happening to me? Why am I hurting this way? Why did they do that to me? How can I couldn't do this better? Right? And it really becomes all about us. So with this invitation to connect with our common humanity, we take those blinders off. We recognize that, oh yeah, I'm struggling right now, and so are all those people who are there walking to the grocery store or buying stuff at the market, or people on social media, and people all over the news, and people all over the world. So we don't need to hold on to our suffering in this way. Right? We can say, yeah, this is really painful right now. And millions and millions of other people are feeling exactly the same way. So that can be really, really helpful when we're working with self-compassion. And kindness. So here, we offer ourselves anything nurturing. Phrases of kindness. We might say to ourselves, oof, yeah, this is really tough right now. It's amazing how you're showing up. Right? Really honoring the fact that at least I'm showing up to engage. Right? Or I might offer myself more traditional phrases of kindness like, may I feel safe, may I be happy. And generally the move of kindness is coupled with physical touch. Very often this type of touch is titled self-compassionate touch. So you just saw me putting my hand on my heart when I offered those phrases. You might do that. That's can be really helpful, really supportive. Or put a hand on your shoulder like that, or both hands on your shoulders. There's this practice called havening, like that. Peter Levine talks about havening, like that. So really, investigating here, what would be the most kind move that I could offer myself? And then we give ourselves that. It might take, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. If it's in a formal meditation, it could take several minutes. And so that's on the course, that's how we'll be engaging in the 3 pillars of self-compassion. We'll do them formally as a meditation. And we're also exploring these 3 pillars of self-compassion informally. When we're walking about our day and we encounter something challenging, I stub my toe. Right, bringing mindfulness to that. Okay, well, what's the sensations there? Yeah, it's really pinching and tingling and burning. And what's the actual sensate experience? That's bringing mindfulness to the situation. Right. And also noting, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling upset. Okay. And recognizing that all human beings feel these feelings, that they're not personal, that we've all banged an appendage, either a toe or a finger or an elbow or an arm or a knee. And so we all know what that feels like. And even if we don't, we know what it feels like to want the present moment to be different. So we include that. And then we offer ourselves kindness. Okay, what would be the most kind thing I could do right now? I could put some ice on my foot. That would be kind. Okay, so if that's available, I might do that, or put a Band-Aid or a bandage on my foot. Offer some self-soothing touch around my ankle, around my toe, so forth, like that. 3 pillars of self-compassion. So the more we meditate with those pillars, the more accessible they become in our day-to-day experience. And the more accessible they've become in our day-to-day experience, the easier the meditation becomes. Right? So that becomes kind of a feedback loop. So if you're interested, I do have a brief guided meditation recorded on my podcast, and I'll put the link on the comments on this video, so you can go ahead and push the link there and do the meditation. I think it's about 13 minutes long. It's not very long. And just explore it for yourself. If you have any questions or comments around the meditation, if you do the meditation, you could post those in the comments, or you could send them to me directly through my website. Again, the website, suchsweetthunder.org. Or you could email me. Either way, email me, message me through Messenger or Instagram. Get in touch with me somehow. Send me the question. I love getting questions around meditation. So I think that brings my offering today to a close. I will be back 1 week from today on Thursday. Again, the same as Thursday here in Asia. It might be Wednesday elsewhere in the world. But I'll be back I'll be back on Monday talking about loving kindness, and I'll be back a week from today on Thursday talking again about this course of self-compassion, forgiveness, and the inner critic. And next Thursday I will be talking about forgiveness. Okay, so have a great evening, a great afternoon, a great morning, And I'll ring the bell to close this session. Thank you again, once again, for being here. Thank you. Thank you.